One of the 10 legendary swords forged by Uzi, the Yuchong sword, had been left unnoticed for over 100 years in a junk shop. People saw it only as a rusted iron sword, but one man saw its true value. Without hesitation, he transferred 100 million to the blacksmith's account, leaving the blacksmith stunned. This man was once a guardian deity who had protected countless lives, but humanity betrayed him. They allied with thousands of hostile gods and even sacrificed themselves just to bring judgment and death upon him. He had been the world's first and last god of destruction. When he ascended to godhood, he was titled the King of Gods and had slain thousands of powerful deities with his overwhelming strength. His power caused fear and jealousy among the gods. The god of destruction somehow survived. What confused him was that he clearly remembered dying. His soul had been scattered, and his divine position, throne, faith, power, and even divinity had been stripped away. When he opened his system panel, it was clear the system wasn't functioning properly. As he pondered over it, a loud sound came from across a vast lake. He saw a man dressed in black standing on a boat. This man began to recount Chang'en's past. When the judgment was mentioned, Chang'en moved at incredible speed to attack, and although the black-robed man responded quickly and drew his sword, Chang'en still countered with his bare fist. Their clash caused towering waves across the lake. Even without divine power, Chang'en's strength was unmatched, and the black-robed man had to retreat, using the water to block his vision. Still, he couldn't believe that even in a weakened state, he was no match for Chang'en. Just as Chang'en was about to go on a rampage, golden cubes appeared in the air and suppressed him completely. These were divine suppression devices capable of weakening even the strongest gods to less than the level of a slime. The black-robed man returned to a calm state and revealed that they were now in the underworld. He explained that normally, gods whose souls had scattered wouldn't have an afterlife, but this case was different. The Book of Life and Death, which records the fate of every living being, had once lost half its content, the part that recorded the divine realm of Arcadia, which had fallen into chaos. The underworld had sacrificed many things to bring Chang'en back. Eventually, they arrived at the gates of the underworld city. Inside, a strong pressure filled the air as hidden eyes watched Chang'en. Seated on a throne inside was Thanos, the king of the underworld. He recognized Chang'en's violent past and questioned it, but Chang'en was impatient and wanted to know the reason he was brought here. The king of the underworld told him to return to the mortal world carrying restraints, and to turn oath-breaking gods into servants of the underworld. In return, he would be allowed to return to where he belonged. He then showed Chang'en a clear view of Earth, zooming in until individual people on the streets could be seen, including a young man who had drunk himself into a stupor, Chang'en himself. The underworld could not directly interfere with the human world, but because some gods had broken their oaths and meddled in human affairs through loopholes, this mission was possible. If Chang'en performed his duties perfectly, he would be freed from his restraints and even offered jurisdiction rights, a rare authority normally bound by divine oaths. The oath itself was considered a shackle, but it could also be seen as a king's blessing. Chang'en accepted the deal and a contract scroll was summoned. The gates to the mortal world were opened, and Chang'en jumped into the passage back to Earth. As he moved through it, he felt the essence of home and closed his eyes to enjoy the long-missed feeling. A system message confirmed his passage through the reincarnation gate and welcomed him back to Earth. When he opened his eyes, he was back on Earth, but not entirely. The location was actually a temporary dungeon, a large jungle-like environment created to hide from otherworldly gods. A system message announced the mission. Everyone needed to explore the area, defeat monsters, and reach the summit of the mountain. Each participant would be given an inventory, status bar, and skill bar. While others stood still, confused, Chang'en began running forward, but he quickly ran out of breath, frustrated at how weak he had become. He opened his system panel and realized that although his reincarnation preserved everything, his abilities had been sealed and reset to avoid detection by foreign gods. Despite this, he didn't give up and searched for the special ability promised to him by the Underworld King. At first, he couldn't find it, but then the system updated. The question marks disappeared, and the panel displayed low-level stats and 2 unique skills: Soul Exploitation and Execution Sword. Soul Exploitation allowed him to imprison the souls of enemies he killed using his sword, storing them in his inventory and burning them with hellfire to extract energy. Another skill, Execution Sword, was considered the strongest developmental skill in the divine realm, allowing the user to seize parts of a criminal's skills, including divine powers, theoretically enabling the collection of countless abilities to become all-knowing and all-powerful. Shang Tsung thought the Underworld King must have been greatly angered by otherworldly gods to be granted such skills, but Execution Sword had strict usage conditions. The target had to be an oathbreaker, and if the opponent was stronger, there could be a dangerous backlash. For safety, Shang Tsung decided to seal the skill temporarily and planned to unseal it later when his strength grew. Suddenly, a monster appeared behind him, a black mamba snake with an open bloody mouth ready to strike. Shang Tsung felt a flash of excitement as he summoned his beginner weapon, a rusted short sword, and with lightning speed he pierced the black mamba's body in one strike. The system notified him that he had killed the black mamba perfectly, rewarding him with the basic short sword skill, attribute points, and experience. Shang Tsung sneered at these rewards, but one caught his interest. The deity called the Avid Hunter was showing interest in him because dungeons were trials where deities selected their divine officials, sometimes choosing apostles to represent their will. Humans initially feared and hated dungeons, but later many competed eagerly to enter. However, 99% of people died in the dungeons because arrogant deities and star gods saw human lives as insignificant, like sweets after dinner. Only a very small number of chosen ones could barely pass unless they showed extraordinary talent. At that moment, surprise appeared in Shang Tsung's eyes as he learned the Avid Hunter's true name was Pablag, a war god skilled in hunting, with various weapons. But what really pleased Shang Tsung was that Pablag's mother was the ancient evil dragon Tiamat, a legendary figure from ancient Babylon, whose strength was said to rival Zeus, king of the gods. Attracting her attention meant she was very satisfied with Shang Tsung's short sword skills. The system then notified him that the Avid Hunter was curious about the hunting techniques he would show next. Shang Tsung confidently said he would show what real hunting looked like. The scene changed to a jungle filled with poisonous gas, where ordinary people entering unprepared would soon be eaten by monsters. Shang Tsung wanted to show the Avid Hunter something special by using the style of a snake hunter. Suddenly, 2 black mambas appeared behind him, rushing like startled birds. Shang Tsung was faster, drawing his short sword and swiftly cutting one black mamba in 2. He became like the god of death, mercilessly killing black mambas across the jungle, frightening them into recognizing him as their natural predator. He followed their trails relentlessly, killing the remaining monsters. The system rewarded him with the title Slaughterer of Black Mambas, adding strength and the ability to cause fear in snake-type creatures. Shang Tsung enjoyed the thrill of slaughter, a feeling he had only known in his past life in Arcadia. Only when the last black mamba was dead did he stop. His achievement quickly attracted divine attention. He decided to strike while the iron was hot and targeted the king of the Black Mamba clan, the Bloody Black Mamba. For a beginner under level 10, defeating such a boss monster alone was nearly impossible, but success would attract even more powerful deities. The Bloody Black Mamba had a unique poison fang that could grant the divine skill immunity to all poisons, the only chance for Shang Tsung to get it. In his previous life, during a devastating battle of Ragnarok, he had been defeated, largely because of the world's most malicious curse and poison, Gaia's curse, which lowered his judgment and combat power. For revenge, he had to obtain this poison fang. At that moment, his rusted iron sword shattered due to worn durability, almost breaking his spirit. He thought it was remarkable that such an inferior weapon had lasted this long. Suddenly, a sharp cleaver fell from the sky, piercing the ground near him. Shang Tsung initially thought it was an attack, but he recognized the weapon as one of the ancient deity Tiamat's sacred artifacts, called the Dragon's Fang. Its aura alarmed him, as deities were never benevolent beings. The Avid Hunter then proposed a wager, suggesting that if Shang Tsung failed, he would lose his life for wasting time. But if he won, the sword with dragon scale patterns would be his. Shang Tsung agreed and drew the great sword. The Avid Hunter was pleased by his spirit and gave him the task of defeating the Bloody Black Mamba within 24 hours, using the temporary weapon. Shang Tsung knew of the great conflict between Tiamat and Marduk, a deadly rivalry. This situation was favorable for him to gain many benefits. The weapon was made from Tiamat's teeth and had its own personality. However, greedy Shang Tsung added a bet that he would defeat the Bloody Black Mamba in 30 minutes. The Avid Hunter accepted but warned that if he failed, he would suffer eternal torment. Shang Tsung rushed into the jungle but was immediately blocked by a massive corpse flower with unnatural agility. These monsters were nightmares for beginners because of their regenerative powers that drained stamina if not killed in one strike. Shang Tsung, reborn as the god of destruction from hell, jumped into the air and struck perfectly to kill the flower instantly. More monsters attacked from all sides, seemingly trying to waste his time, but Shang Tsung was not worried. News of his wager quickly spread in the divine realm, attracting dozens of deities and star gods who watched him closely. The Avid Hunter warned others that she had seen Shang Tsung first. Shang Tsung was pleased because his plan to attract divine attention was working, and he had achieved the rare accomplishment of talent breaking through the novice area, which gave him a chance to obtain a hidden profession. He would not make the mistake of choosing a mediocre profession like in his previous life. At this early stage, rare professions like Dragon Lord or Dark King were likely impossible, so he chose Berserker as the optimal choice. Berserker increased attack power but risked loss of rationality, which Shang Tsung was confident he could control. Only Berserker gave him a chance to win the bet. Normally, the bloody black mamba was a monster even level 20 players struggled with. When profession results appeared, Shang Tsung was shocked to see Berserker missing, and most professions were low level and weak. He was in a dilemma, with the bloody black mamba behind him and less than 6 minutes on the countdown. Luckily, the last profession on the list was Runic Mage, the most destructive beginner profession, stronger than a fully berserker in pure power, but weaker in close combat. His past life experience was enough to compensate. Shang Tsung chose Runic Mage for his first profession, gaining dexterity and intelligence points, new attributes intelligence and willpower, and the basic skills rune inscription and rune creation. He allocated 30 points to intelligence and 25 to willpower from his 55 free attribute points. The bloody black mamba suddenly charged at him, but Shang Tsung dodged and activated rune creation. His eyes glowed azure blue as he placed his hand over his longsword and cut his fingertip to use his blood to inscribe runes on the blade. The system notified him that he had successfully inscribed an explosive rune. The deities were shocked that a beginner was so skilled in runic texts. With the rune enhancement, magical power surged from the blade, creating pressure that made the air vibrate. The rune would exert 5 times its power for 1 minute, but it exhausted his mana. With a roar, Chang'un raised his sword and engaged the monster in battle, and their fierce clash sent a magical wave rippling through the jungle that was visible even from the distant safe zone. Park Hong watched nervously, sweating heavily as explosion sounds had been coming from the jungle for some time, but this last blast was louder than any before, and even from the safe zone he could feel the energy from the explosion. While everyone was still puzzled, the system suddenly notified them that player Li Changsung was assaulting the boss monster Bloody Black Mamba, leaving everyone shocked and wide-eyed, especially Park Hong, who initially could not believe it but had to accept the truth when he saw the golden cross-shaped light in the smoke, an effect that only appeared with skill-critical hits, which showed that Li Chang'un possessed unimaginable combat power. At that moment, a thought he had never considered before arose in his mind that perhaps everyone could safely escape from the dungeon. As the smoke cleared, 2 figures emerged from the brilliant haze, both realizing that this strike would decide life or death. With a violent explosion echoing throughout the dungeon and dust covering the jungle again, moments later, under everyone's stunned gaze, Chang'un successfully defeated the first boss monster Bloody Black Mamba and opened the first dungeon area. The dungeon rankings updated with Li Changsung first with a score of 4,999 and Park Hang second with a score of 1. Chang'un stood proudly on the mountaintop like a war god, and Park Hang witnessed the unforgettable scene marking the birth of humanity's new 10 kings. After defeating Bloody Black Mamba, Chang'un roughly threw the monster's head into the safe zone, and the fierce aura still radiating from his body made everyone tremble with fear, worried he might attack them as well. When they confirmed that the burly man was a player, Chang'un gave a command that he had taken down the first area's boss and left the remaining small monsters to others. Park Hang quickly volunteered to clear space for his training, but Chang'un refused the gesture and carried the monster's head by himself into the jungle without looking back, not wanting to be observed like an animal because he had secrets that must not be revealed. After Chang'un left, everyone in the safe zone sighed with relief, as merely sharing space with him created a heavy pressure that made them uneasy. Some even whispered that Chang'un was a demon, which made him laugh heartily because if he truly were a demon, everyone would already be dead. What nobody knew was that Chang'un heard every word clearly. He chuckled lightly, knowing that displaying such powerful abilities in the novice area made their fear unsurprising. Chang'un then moved to a spacious and quiet place to avoid disturbance, where he inscribed an isolation rune that blocked small monsters and other players. He summoned his system panel to organize the rewards from killing the boss and winning the bet. Besides the 3 basic mission rewards, he received 2 additional achievement rewards. He checked these first and smiled slightly because his level was too low for good rewards, and the Dragon's Fang he already had was enough for the entire novice period, so the best option now was attack points. After confirming this, Chang'un received 15,000 attack points at once, which were useless during the novice period, but could be exchanged for powerful items with special effects once the mall opened, meaning attack points were like money for mortals. Then Chang'un opened his status panel, and thanks to single-handedly killing the boss-level Bloody Black Mamba, his current attribute points were extremely high, and even level 30 players might not be able to defeat him. Just then, a ringing sound interrupted his thoughts as several deities showed interest in Chang'un quite openly, angering the avid hunter who warned the gods and even invoked her mother, the ancient dragon goddess Tiamat. The avid hunter then asked Chang'un what reward he wanted as an extra prize for their betting contract, and to his surprise, she opened the dragon's treasury, revealing countless precious treasures that would drive many people crazy if taken outside. However, Chang'un was already prepared, and under the confused gazes of the deities, closed the reward list without selecting anything. The unclaimed rewards converted into 1 million attack points because he knew accepting rewards now would bring trouble from his enemy god Pabilse in the future. and rumors said the reward system could accumulate effects for use at critical moments. This displeased the avid hunter, though one reward remained available. But Changun again rejected it coldly, which made the avid hunter furious because no human had ever dared to insult her like that before. She roared in anger and left, threatening that he would regret it, but Changun was not afraid and had acted deliberately, knowing that by showing tremendous value, he would keep receiving divine blessings and reap more benefits in the future. Everything was going according to Changun's plan, and he turned his attention to the next stage. He picked up his longsword and began dissecting the corpse of the bloody black mamba, which was a treasure trove from head to tail.